All right, hello. Welcome to Mind, Body, Spirit Summit 2018. I'm here with Vibe Tribe. Holler. Hillary and Lindsay, and I'm going to have them kind of do their bios for us because I feel like so much of who you guys are is kind of how you met and formed your company, and it's a little different and it's totally awesome. But what I will read is just their little blurb about their company, which I think is awesome. And it's Vibe Tribe Creative was born to provide killer branding, visual strategy, and good vibrations to brands with soul. I just think that's awesome. It's so good. So Hillary, Lindsay, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being on our summit. We're excited to have you girls.
So are we.
Yay. And I'm going to have you guys really just start with your story. Start with, how you guys, I know you had met prior, but kind of go into where you guys were just at and then sort of how everything started and you formed your company.
Cool. Awesome.
Okay.
Should I start with Okay, cool. Hillary and I did meet quite a few years ago when we were at the same internship. Always stayed in touch. We're always each other's biggest fans. We had a lot of similar interests. And a few years went by. We were connected, but never really crossed paths that much. Kind of, those things where you follow someone on Instagram or your Facebook friends.
Yeah.
But you don't get to sit down and have dinner with them face to face. And I think, what was it? We messaged each other on Facebook. I want to say to get together.
Lindsay posted. So we had both, since our internship right out of college, we had kind of gone our own ways in different paths in marketing, advertising, social media space. And I think we both at the same crossroads kind of hit this point of tension and feeling like the career path we were on wasn't suiting us and, trying to figure out what's next. So I was working in digital advertising at the time and pretty unsatisfied, not really digging what I was doing or feeling connected to it. And at the time I saw on Facebook that Lindsay posted that she was leaving her corporate job to pursue photography full time. And I was kind of like, what's going on with Lindsay? I want to hear more about this. What's she up to? I want in, just kind of got the connection point going. So I think I messaged her and we wound up just meeting up for dinner. And that dinner kind of became our happy accident of what soon became Vibe Tribe.
Yeah. So to pick up, I would say I want to say 2 weeks before this dinner happened, I have a friend in New York that works in beauty, and she would always kind of send me, people's websites or just ideas oh, you should reach out to them for photo. I really feel like you could just dive in and help their brand kind of thing. And not that seemed unattainable, but I guess that wasn't really my forte, right? Reaching out to people I didn't know, who could be well known or maybe they aren't, but just, I was really kind of settling into being self-employed and had a big base of food clients in Chicago, hotels, that kind of thing, and was trying to just, really focus in. And so one of the names I got one day was Juliana Rancic. And I was like, you know what, why not? She's, part Chicago now. I'll just give it a go. So I emailed her from my Gmail account and said something to the extent of I would love to get coffee sometime. I actually need to pull up this email to reference sometime because it would be really funny. But I was trying to play it cool and just say, I'd love to get coffee with you sometime. I feel like, it'd be really fun to collaborate and show all the hats that you wear. You're a restaurateur, you're a mom, you're a cancer survivor, you're this badass woman kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm in Chicago, let me know, Lindsay. Well, my email signature had my website in it, which I had been obsessively redesigning in Squarespace for quite some time. And every few months, I'd kind of give it a makeover and send it to my friends and family, but would never have thought of myself as a web designer ever.
Yeah.
I guess didn't realize how much I was interested in it. So I'll never forget then driving into the mountains in Tennessee a few days later, visiting friends, and at this point, probably a week or two before catching up with Hillary. And I got an email back from her assistant and manager being yeah, we would love to connect on photo. Great. Also, who did your website? Can you pass along a recommendation? And I kind of had this panic moment of well, I want to make it really clear I'm not a website designer. I wasn't shooting myself down, but I just, when you've never had a client web design, regardless of how confident you feel, you want to make sure that that is in the open, especially with someone like her. And they were like, well, but you did your own, to the extent of, so obviously you can do it. Like, can you hop on a call kind of thing?
Wow.
And honestly, I can't quite remember if I think I had the one call solo and realized like, wow, what an amazing opportunity. They wanted someone that was fresh and, not corporate, which was exciting. And I remember thinking like, also like, wow, okay, could be overwhelming, and it would be great to have a partner in this, and like who would be a fit for that, and I don't know. And my other friends were self-employed. Then we had dinner, and I just like word vomited. I was like, this is what's happening, and I don't know, we've always, I feel like, had this natural fit in our personalities, and it was, I don't know.
I put in my 2 weeks notice the day after we had dinner. I was like, all right, then, like, I don't care where this goes, but I can't keep doing what I'm doing. And I had like been thinking about what I wanted to do and had already signed up. I did a yoga teacher training after I quit my job just to kind of reset and like focus in and reconnect with myself. So yeah, I put my notice in and I said, yes, I'll help you out. Like, not even thinking of us as partners yet. Like, I was like, it's so great. You have this opportunity. I'd love to help.
And I was like
partner.
So yeah, I think through that process, we wound up, winning the business and working with Juliana, which was really surreal. And she couldn't have been like a better first client.
And an amazing first client. So
yeah,
awesome.
Like it was such divine timing on all fronts, like the craziest. And
Jinx, when we flew to LA to shoot her in tandem, with her website at the time, which was now almost 4 years ago, I want to say. And it was a really great opportunity because, obviously she was amazing, but it kind of launched us into this, LA market and this e-network. And from there, we got to work with so many other amazing like fashion stylists and makeup artists and like hair affiliates. And then, one of our all-time favorite clients, which is Kat Sadler, who is an angel of a human being and incredibly inspirational to us, and to this day with everything going on. And so yeah, I think from there things started to get real. And the best part is you have to tell them about how we named our company.
Yeah, so that's what I was just gonna say. So when we launched her website, we were like, okay, we should put our brand in the footer. Like a lot of designers do that, and that way like people can find us if they want websites too. So we were like, literally, I think days away from launching her, and we were like, we should probably meet up and name ourselves. Like, we can't just be Hillary and Lindsay forever. So we literally went out to dinner again and just like crushed a bottle of wine, to be honest, and like with a notebook, and we were like trying to like come up with all sorts of names. And then I think the one like thing that kept sticking is we kept being like, well, what like encompasses our vibe? We want this
to have,
kept
saying it. You were like, it should have a good vibe.
Like,
and I just kept being like repeating her and being like, yeah, Hillary, it should have a good vibe. And we just kept.
We had a list of words that we just liked for no reason. Like, we were like, ooh, the word collective sounds cool. Write that down. Like we just kept brainstorming. And at some point, I think we saw tribe and vibe both together. And we were like, vibe tribe. And then I think at some point we were like, well, people know that we're a creative shop. So we added the creative on the end. And yeah, we had like no idea what we were doing. We just threw it in the footer, and then the rest was kind of
we were like, oh, we'll put it in there and link it to our website. And then we had no idea, I think, how big of an impact like launching her would be. So we were definitely excited about what was to come and, that type of thing. But I remember we launched her, and then we started getting like over 10 inquiries a day, like out of the gate.
Wow.
Have emails. We were like, we should probably not be like Hillary whatever at Gmail. Like, we were like, we had nothing in place. Like,
and then that was like in January, and like that spring we had traveled to Seattle for a project, to Maui, and we're just like into LA again, and just started to immediately plant ourselves with these people that saw us all from this one launch. It was honestly the craziest thing ever.
Wow.
And I definitely. Parts like the fact that someone could take a chance on us. Neither of us like I was a psychology and sociology major in college. Like I worked in marketing and worked at a creative agency, worked in a digital ad firm, but like we were completely self-taught, and it was just so rewarding and kind of humbling to know that there were people willing to take a chance and work with us without like a fancy credential to be like, we're the coolest, best designers, you need to work with us.
Yeah, exactly.
And that first year, I think we really just built up our portfolio and like really tried to align ourselves with brands and people that encompassed kind of the mentality and attitude that we pride ourselves on, and it really just kind of started to flow.
gosh, that's such a cool story. So it was like almost like an overnight success after the launch. Yeah.
It's kind of fun too, because I don't know the last time that we both like sat together and told that story. So it kind of gives you like the goosebumps all over again of like, oh my gosh, we started there and didn't know what was to come, you know?
Right.
So
Every time we tell the story, I feel like it's like we're in marriage, like it's this is my wife, and like we're talking about how we met and then got engaged. But like it really is our love story.
It is.
Yeah, well, completely. And what I really like is you guys were both just like following your heart and like kind of doing your own thing individually, which ended up being this like great like collaboration that ended up working out so well.
And I think something that I always reflect on too is, you know, sometimes people can know you as one thing, right? So it's like if your friends or family were to describe you right now, like what's that thing? They'd be like, oh, you know, he or she is great at X, whatever it is. And it must be like their, you know, biggest passion and, you know, most successful interest. But what I think we both discovered about ourselves when we've really been able to, because, you know, we don't have a boss above us. So it's like we're that person for each other to like encourage and kind of like propel each other along is you can have more than one interest, more than one passion and successfully chase them. Like forever, I was in like the photographer basket because I've done it for so long and I love it. But I love design. I'm obsessed with that too. And it's so cool that we have this ability and like the same with Hillary to, you know, really like discover and like teach ourselves things that we're interested in and kind of just know that like there's truly no limit unless we ourselves, you know, put up that limit.
For sure.
Especially love that.
Resources out there. Like we live in such a crazy world right now where you can access like whether you want to take a course online or download a tutorial or watch a YouTube video, like it's almost like there's no excuse. Like you really can. It's up to you to seize the day. But I think we both like for a while. I think I told myself that like even though I felt creative inside, that like there wasn't an outlet for me because I didn't study design or you know I didn't take that graphic design course. I didn't know what I was doing. But that was you know when we decided together like we can figure this out. We've done it once. We can do it again. You know that believing in ourselves I think was like ultimately like the secret ingredient of. Like, kind of
for sure.
And do you think part of it too was that you guys were both doing something that was a passion? Like you were pursuing photography and you were doing this yoga teacher training, which was also kind of lighting something up inside of you that made it easier to sort of have that clear light of like, this is where I should be going and what feels good.
100%. It's like phase one was like deprogramming. Like quit the corporate job, quit the thing that wasn't like suiting you or making us feel like excited to jump out of bed. And I think that for me was definitely like what yoga teacher training offered me. Like I always have loved yoga. It's like a part of my like fiber of my being. Just
and
like,
she's really good.
I didn't really even want to teach. I was just like, I need to like surround myself with like good energy, something I love. So I did this training and I think you know, it's definitely just, it was like clearing space and making room really for all these ideas to come. Because when you're stressed out and you're waking up to your alarm and you're like have anxiety about going into the office and then you're there till crazy hours, eating meals at your desk, missing your workouts because there's no time, like there was no room for me to even think like, ooh, what would my dream reality look like?
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. And I think that so many people, it's like we just kind of do what we think we need to do. Like we go to school, then we get this degree in this, and then we're sort of in this box. Like Lindsay, you were saying about photography, I'm just in this basket. Even though that's a total creative passion, it's like you sort of just keep putting yourself in boxes until you're able to be like, why am I doing this? Like, why can't I do all of this and make it work? And so now you guys have this more balance, I'm assuming, like where you get to like work out and do, and how does that feel?
It's incredible.
Like there's no going back.
I
feel like even, and don't get me wrong, like even though we are pursuing our dreams, like with anything in life, we face challenges. We have hard days and days where, you know, we feel discouraged or, you know, for whatever reason. And I think like what really keeps us going is this like sense of life balance that we've been able to create for ourselves. I would say 9 out of 10 days, we love what we're doing and everything's great. But, you know, I think we also have this drive of like wanting to have all of it, you know, and be able to, and even like, you know, we work hard, but it's like work hard, play hard. So, you know, we might put in like tough hours for a few weeks to get our launches out. And then after that, we'll look at each other and be like, we should like play hooky and go get mani-pedis. Like, why not? Like we earned it. And I think because we're so aligned with each other, it's such a natural flow of like, even like on days where I'm stressed and I don't even realize it, Lindsay will be like, shut your computer, I got us, you go do your thing, like go to yoga class. And there's such like a good synergy there, and it works both ways. Like I got married this year and went on a honeymoon, and like Lindsay held down the fort so that I could like go travel. Yeah. And she's getting married this year, and I can't wait to be like, if I see you on email, I swear to God, like, you know, do that. And I think because we both have those core values and are so aligned, it makes it so easy.
That's so awesome. Congratulations also to both of you. I'm also getting married this year, so there we go. Weddings for days. So congratulations. That's great. What is it that you said you guys kind of keep each other accountable, but being your own boss, I mean, that definitely requires like some discipline. Like what are some, either like a morning routine or like some sort of thing that you do to keep yourself on track?
I would say it's funny because when I reflect back to like when we first had our company, before you have all of like what I would call like now our systems, you know, and process. And for example, when we send out a new client, like what those steps are for us and the things that we have like weekly check-ins on and our inquiries and, you know, how we store and organize, like so many of those things we didn't have then. Right. So it's like
scary to think about.
It's scary. Yeah. You learn as you go. And I think that's truly something that, you know, we were honest with ourselves about that. And it's really important, I think, to know like, okay, you know, not just like yearly, but like regularly, what could we be doing better at? You know, can we do this more effectively? Like, what's it like from our client's point of view? And in terms of, I would say like routines specifically, I think we each have different things that we really, really love and enjoy doing. And I'll let you touch on that, Hill. But I think it's really, again, like to go back to the flexibility, knowing that like this morning I woke up and, you know, went to Pilates and then came back and got online. But like tomorrow, like I'm not doing that, you know, and I may start my morning a totally different way. And I think it's just knowing that like we have the option to mix it up and do those kind of things. I definitely like, I can be a creature of habit at times, but I love to just have the option to kind of divert off that path as well.
Yeah, and not have that routine.
Yeah. And I think when we first started, I think Lindsay and I definitely are kind of free-spirited. So to us, like the idea of process at first was kind of like, oh, but like we're so go with the flow. And then what we realized is once you actually solidify process as a foundation, you can be more free-spirited because you've checked like everything's taken care of, and then there's all that room for fun. So for us, like day to day, we use systems like Google Documents and Google Calendar. And like, I think we both, because we genuinely love what we're doing, like it's not like someone's like breathing down our necks, like, oh, this is due. Yeah. We genuinely can't wait to go create and like make magic and send things to our clients. But you know, sometimes like with, you know, we can remind each other if things slip, and I feel like there's just always a good
color
balance.
Coding. We've started color coding our entire calendar for L and H, which is also how we sign all of our emails, like no matter who's sending it. But I feel like we started color coding, and now I think that we're both pretty obsessed with organization, and it's an exciting thing to be able to like say and mean that I think our clients would all say the same in terms of how we ask for information and how we process it. And it took a lot of work on our end to get to that point. And so I know it's something that we're both really proud of because it wasn't always really easy for us.
I think it's cool, though, that you were saying that you both are super free-flowing, but you found that actually having, like, processes gives you, or patterns or, you know, those things in place that actually gives you even more the ability to be free-flowing. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with, I know, like, Hillary and I both love to travel. Oftentimes it's together, which is awesome, whether it's for work or fun. And when it's separate, it's so nice knowing that because we have those things in place, like, I would never bat an eye on like what she's sending or what's going on, because I know we have these systems in place to everything is taken care of. And it doesn't matter if I'm doing it or if she's doing it. And regardless of who's leading the project, knowing that like that person's going to get that same warm, like fun experience. And I think that as cheesy as that sounds, like that's how I really feel, knowing that like we're covered in that way, and that allows us to like unplug and shut the computer and not worry about it. Because if they're talking to Hillary, they're talking to me, kind of, and if they're talking to Hillary,
totally. And in terms of,
I hope I said that right. That was kind of confusing.
In terms of routines too, I think like we don't have like, it's not like every day looks the same for us. It really depends on what our workload is, and if we can seize the opportunity to unplug a little bit, or if it's one of those days where we got to double down and like meet up in person, since we both work from home, and just, you know, kind of energize each other. But I would say what's really cool too is we have these other passions outside of our work that help us feel good and deliver the best, work. And that's like, I feel like we always are coordinating, like, how are you going to sweat today? Like, we go to Pilates together sometimes. Sometimes we do completely separate things, but we're always like sharing recipes, or we both have dogs. So it's like, I'll G-chat Lindsay and I'm like, taking the dog to the park. And she's like, same. Like, we're just always in communication. I feel like there's these other compartments of our lives that it might seem small, but even just like running out to grab like a juice or a smoothie, like those little breaks that we so enjoy, I think help us keep our day steady and feeling good.
That's awesome.
I think it's cool too, because obviously when we started our company, we were friends and became more like acquaintances and kind of like lost touch for a bit, but we, started like that, and then also developed this like best friendship. Like I was thinking of this the other day, because I had Hillary's marriage license, and she will be signing mine. She's my maid of honor, and so it's cool that we have that's like grown and flourished as well in our business, but at the same time can still, like, we're such good business partners at the same time. And I feel like in some cases, like, that may not work for everybody, but it works so well for us because there's such a level of respect there. Like, first and foremost, that isn't ever, like, that's always our priority, no matter what, with whether we're dealing with ourselves or other people.
That's awesome. I was going to say, like, that can be hard for people sometimes, like, being able to separate, like, that friendship from business. Is there, like, anything you found particular that works where you're like, all right, we're able to just, like, we're putting our business hats on. This isn't meant to take it personally, but, like, this is how this should go? Or, like, is that something you had to adjust to in the beginning, or did it all just kind of, like, flow and work out?
I feel like it's kind of just worked out, to be honest. Like, I feel like we've never had, honestly, it's when we meet up to work on something and we get so excited to see each other that we'll talk for 3 hours and not get to the thing we were supposed to do. So the only time where it's like a problem is like if we have to get something done by the end of the day, we'll come over and be like, okay, we're not allowed to catch up about your trip, or I can't, like,
or I have to come over way earlier than we need to start this, because we'll sit there on the couch with coffee and be like, what time is it?
Like, talking about, like, what our dogs ate that day, or like, just who
like
knows
behind this computer screen is like a display of like hummus and like other things, because that happened before this started.
Right,
so
right.
Yeah, no, literally cheers.
We're like, we had our whole setup here.
But
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's really the only time, like, sometimes we have to remind ourselves, like, okay, like, we do need to be in work mode, but in, like, a funny way, not, like, a serious way. And I think part of the reason our friendship and our business partnership is so strong is because we're so transparent. Like, if I said something and Lindsay, I don't know, disagreed with it or whatever, it wouldn't be like, I need to sit you down. It would be, like, second nature to just speak freely to each other and share feedback. And I think because there's such, like, a love and respect, all of our feedback to each other is never delivered like, you did something wrong. It's always just like, hey, like, I'd love to talk to you about XYZ. And I feel like we don't really have many of those situations anyways, but it's never been awkward. It's just very much like, let's deal with this situation together. And we're very much like, we're a tribe, so we're on the same team. Like, it's never you versus me. It's always us. And if, like, something falls awry, even if I'm leading it, like, Lindsay's backing me up and, like, there with me through the whole thing.
Yeah. And I think something that I always think about as well is, I remember, I don't actually remember what the situation was, but I'll never forget Posy being like, whoa, that was really cool. But there was something, I don't know if this was like well over probably 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And I don't know if it was like an email or a G-chat, and Hillary said something to me. And then I remember you like immediately called me or something. And you're like, I don't know, like, did I say that? It was in a way where she like genuinely cared. And I feel like a lot of, like, separately from business, a lot of friends in life, like, they don't possess that ability, or they don't deliver it right, or like want to even, check in with you. And so I feel like separately from like business partners, like, Hillary's taught me a lot about, other parts of my life as well, which has like also grown our friendship and like set the bar really, really high, frankly. And I think that's something that like, shines across too. And we often talk about how like, it's so important to us that, we always do treat people like a certain way. Like, we really mean what we say, and we like build our company off of good vibes. Like, we give that, and we also expect it, we oftentimes like, we'll say clients and things like this, but we like, when it's us, we refer to them as partners. We definitely want that vibe.
Yeah. Oh, and there it is again. I love it. That's awesome. Do you feel like, because you've you named your company that, And then as it's grown, do you feel like that's part of why? Do you get like those clients that are great that have like the same vibe because that's sort of like what you're putting out? Like, or have you attracted a couple where you're like, okay, this isn't going to work because you're not quite like our vibe that we're looking for?
Yeah, I think for the most part, like we've attracted a really cool group of people, and a lot of people that are similar to us, other entrepreneurs, a lot of women, which is cool, not intentional. We work with anyone of all ages, genders, whatever. But yeah, I think we've definitely had learning lessons of partnerships, and it's not necessarily like, I think even some people will even reach out to us and be like, oh, like I love your website, like I would love to work with you, but I'm not like bohemian. Will it work? Like, I don't like they think that because we have a certain kind of like aesthetic
that
they have to fit their aesthetic. And for us, it's actually way more fun to have to create around like a unique idea, whether it's what we would want for our website or not. Like our greatest passion is creating something that honors the authenticity of who we're working with. But I think when we say vibe, we more so mean like a positive energy. So it doesn't matter if you're launching like a horse manure company or like it really doesn't. Like if you're passionate and that's your product and like you want a website, like let's talk. But I think for us, it's always been more about like how people treat each other and those interactions and like hopping off the phone with someone and feeling like good about the call, or we always say like we want to work with people that we would grab coffee with and enjoy it. Like we don't want like our client relationships to feel like I have to. We want it to feel like we get to.
And it's been trial and error at times. Like we have, had situations like every business does where, our work is always complete, but it's, it may not always be like the best feeling. And that's something that we have to refine and identify and ask ourselves, well, how could we maybe have identified better if we weren't like the best fit or they weren't the best fit for us? Because I very much think that like relationships in life, a business partnership at the same time, like it should be a fit for both people, not just like, oh, you're my ideal client, but then down here kind of thing. So we've had those situations, but they definitely like it's way outnumbered by the amazing people that we get to work with.
We've learned some really important lessons, even just how we position ourselves. Like if we're working with someone and it's not a great fit, we're not sitting there being like, oh, this person didn't meet our needs. We think like, oh, did we not necessarily communicate how we work? Are there things we can do to inform people on how our process flows so that there aren't surprises along the way or there aren't these like tension points? So I think even reflecting back now on projects that weren't so smooth, it's helped us kind of hone in on like what our brand message is and how we can better attract those kinds of people.
Yeah. So good. I have like so many questions. I'm like, okay, next one. What are some things you guys do talking about branding that help people find their brand?
Sure. So we, definitely offer a variety of things, but one thing that we do a lot of is logos. And we actually have a third tribe member, Emily, who's based in New York. And I would say like how we typically kick off that process, for example, is we have a lot of digital forms. So our clients will tell you that. We like to get everything in writing because a lot of times people, and this goes the same with like their message shaping and like content for the website. I can't tell you how many times like we've asked people to fill out these forms and then we're sitting here cracking up or being like, this info is gold. Like they probably weren't intending to shape something and to, write down this for their brand, but like what they've given us this like nugget that like we can work with. The same with logo and branding, lots of inspiration boards.
Yeah, I think for us, it's like, we call it like, it's called our intake process, but it's really like a get to know you exercise. And it's a lot of it's like first having the client provide all the information, like blank slate, like no bias from us. And then Lindsay and I kind of dissect and look for those nuggets of information that are really golden. But I think for us, our biggest job is representing the authenticity, like really creating something like a home that suits the person we're working with. So a lot of it is just more so refining what's already there versus having someone come to us and say like, I'm opening up a juice bar and like, how can it be cool? How can I sell a lot of juice? For us, it's more of like, why do you love juice? Like, when you like, what's your favorite kind of juice? Like,
and you don't want to be like everyone else. Like, what's your voice? Like this is great, but like, what is you? And I think asking people to dive a bit deeper, because something that I think, and again, a learning experience is like really making sure the client is like willing to be open and really explore like all the possibilities out there. Sometimes we can all get so caught up in like our own visions, and like we do it with Vibe Tribe. It's so nice to, have someone else from the outside look at things differently than you, and, offer and suggest things that like you may not have thought of, or know how to kind of piggyback a great idea that you had. And so a lot of times when people are open to that, and I mean, that's something that Hillary and I often find and implement like in our design rounds too, is like, oh, this would look so cool, or this is something that I just want to try. I don't know why, I'm just like feeling it, like, let's go. So yeah, I think,
yeah. And we definitely work on a spectrum. So we have clients come to us and they have, a concept they're just developing, and they need a lot of help figuring out like what that's going to look like. And there's other clients that have been established brands for 20 years and they just want some fresh energy. Right. So we kind of insert ourselves anywhere from that beginning point to that established point. And for us, it's like that combination of mining out the information that's already there, uncovering those like secret gems, but then overlaying that creative input. And it's a fun give and take process. And I think our clients don't realize how valuable they are in the process. It's not like us coming up with a random idea. It's like the push and pull of both.
Yeah, like what they inspire in you to find and all of that. Oh, that's awesome. When you guys were first starting out, if you were to like look back on your younger entrepreneurial selves, is there any advice that you would give them?
Yeah.
And we're coming out with a book.
Yeah. Honestly, like there's nothing I look back and regret, because I really feel like the lessons we've learned, even like mistakes, have been really more so learning opportunities. I think looking back, I would say, I don't know, like some of the things that we put off, like the business side of things, like we filed for our LLC and got like those business processes in place. I think if we had that sooner, it would have been great, but vision's great. Hindsight's always 20/20. Yeah. So I think just more so kind of tending to the back end details and remembering to make time for things. Like we're in the process of renovating our own website, and it's been something that we continually seem to push back to serve our external clients. So maybe remembering that, but
yeah, I totally agree with that. I think there's things where like, we could have done that sooner. We got it done, but again, a learning experience. And I think one of the biggest things for me is, especially when you're starting something out, it's like, hopefully we're all lucky enough to have people in your lives, whether they're, your family or friends that are supportive of like what you're doing. And it's awesome that we're natural partners in it. But, not everyone also is like on that level of support. And I think if I could tell my younger self something, it would just be to remind myself that like, again, like there aren't those limitations. And I think that in any level of life, you should be able to openly like share what you aspire to be, even if you're not sure quite who that is yet, but you should be able to share those things like with the people that you're surrounded by and like have them lift you up. And I would just say like, keep going, like you're doing great.
Yeah. And I think it's something that we did uncover when we started out, but like it really is trust your gut. Like when we were in situations that weren't serving us, we felt it. I would get stomach aches at work, feeling anxiety, it wasn't a good feeling. So if you're feeling some way, whether it's really like if it's great, follow that feeling. If it's not great, figure out what's causing that and examine it. It's worth examining. It's easy to say, I wish we could have started Vibe Tribe 3 years earlier. I think the experiences prior built and shaped who we are. But definitely, like, work can be fun. You can love your job. And it's really just about tapping into kind of like what fuels you and then finding a way to, execute it in a way that makes you money.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that was going to be my next question. So that was awesome. We're like a huge part of the summit, and you guys are designing our company's website too. So, but it's, we think that so many times the mind is the whole body, the mind, body, and spirit. It's overlooked or it's separated into pieces. And I think that our huge goal is to have people see that, no, like they're all interconnected. And so that's part of what I love that you were talking about was just when things didn't feel right, like you physically got stomach aches. And so I was going to ask, like, how did it feel for you when you know that you were like on the right path, like with photography, with getting the first client, with quitting your job? Like, how did it feel for you where you're like, I might not be totally sure of what's coming up, but I know this feels right. Like I'm following my heart.
It was like a sense of like ease. It was just, as soon as we started doing things that were more aligned with what we love to do, everything kind of fell into place. And like I don't like using the word luck a lot. Like I've used divine timing a little bit, like in how we met. But it's almost like once we started pursuing the path, all of this abundance just flowed naturally. And I really believe that that's true. And that when you have alignment in those compartments, that it's not like separate, it's cohesive. And
right.
I'm telling you, like the second I got out of an environment that stressed me out, my physical body was like totally transformed. And I think it had to do with, like, I was having a physical reaction to a situation where my spirit was being, like, you know, not thriving. So, yeah, I don't think it's something that we've even necessarily thought about, but when you look at it that way, it really is true.
Yeah. And I remember when I was in like my corporate job and like there was photo involved in that. It was, you know, content creation and writing, marketing, and photo. And I remember like my role there was new. When I, like the whole time I worked there, like that position didn't exist before. So I think like in hindsight, like I'm still Facebook friends with my old boss and like she's an amazing person. I think in hindsight, when I look at it, she probably just like didn't know how to manage. I have like had all these things going on, and do you ever like look at yourself in a position where you're just like, it's not that what I'm doing now isn't like good enough, or it's not like enriching me. Like there were parts of my job that I truly loved, and like working with chefs and creating food content. Like I really loved that. It's something I still enjoy. But I knew that it wasn't filling me up the right way. Like something can still, you know, you can still walk away and be like, wow, that was like a great day. But like, it's just like, that's not it for me. And I know that there's just like, there's just more, like there just is. And it's just this feeling. And I remember when I left my job, knowing like, okay, I'm actually a little scared. Like when I first left, you know, to just do Eat, Pray, Photo fully, I was like, this is scary, like financially and just not knowing what's next. But like Hillary was saying, it seriously just flows. Like sometimes, you know, it's taking that chance on ourselves and really just knowing like what we're capable of, which in the moment is sometimes really hard. But I think it's one of those things, like age is like a fine wine.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But I like too that you didn't necessarily, I think so many people feel like they have to like hate the circumstance they're in to make a change, where it's like, no, it's actually great, but it's just, I know it could be better. And that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good point too, because like improvement and change can come in any stage of life. It doesn't need to be like high, high, low, low. Like we should be able to, like, just as we are now in our current stage, look and see like, okay, like what else? Like, you know, or is there something else, or where, you know, like it's so good to ask questions. And I think in general, when we stop asking questions, whether it's with ourselves, other people, you know, there's kind of a little bit of a roadblock. Like you're not really allowing yourself to grow, you know, as much as you could.
Yeah, absolutely. This is so good. You guys are sharing such good content for all these people who are like, I've been dying to do my own thing and I'm not sure how to do it. So I think like the best question to end on really is if there's any advice that you would give to somebody who's looking to pursue something on their own, even if they're not totally sure what it is, or step out and be an entrepreneur, but they think, oh, so many people are doing the same idea. Like, what is some advice that you guys would give them?
I would say just start. Not to say you have to quit your job tomorrow, but if you have a passion, like start exploring that. If you have an idea, you can take on a side project while you're still at a full-time job and see where that goes, or journal about it. Do it for fun on the weekends. Find an outlet. And I think for us, a lot of it was like we almost felt pulled in a direction once we started allowing ourselves to explore in that way.
Yeah.
So I really think the hardest challenge is getting started, and it doesn't have to be the big leap right away, but in some way, how can you start doing more of the things you love? And it might not even be about leaving your job. It could be about how do you make time for a hobby you love? Can you take a lunch break and do it then? Can you get up an hour earlier and incorporate it? And I think that for me is the biggest thing. It's just like, how can you take charge and really just start doing more of what you love and what, gets you out of bed in the morning?
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, I totally agree with that. I think, and back to kind of what I said earlier is like, don't put yourself in a box. I think, don't feel like because you studied this, what we touched on earlier, you have to do that. I mean, I like was kind of being like groomed at a young age to go into like business or healthcare, and like people that know me well could just tell you that is just the last thing I would ever do. And it's so funny because my mom openly jokes about it now because like she works in healthcare and like consulting and is this like power businesswoman who now in hindsight like I like look up to so much, and it has taught me so much. But now she's just like, it's so funny to me that I even thought that like that was your fit. And sometimes we have these ideas that were almost like placed in our heads, and I think it's so nice to just kind of break free of that shell. And the other thing too is just finding a support system. It doesn't matter if it's like one friend who is like that person that like no matter what is going to send you those text messages and like check in with you, like, and not just do it because you asked them to, but like meaningful and like someone that truly cares about you, and asking that person to like,
I think it is
be there with you on that
surrounding
exploration.
Yourself with people that support you, I think is a huge difference maker. And it doesn't have to be like your best friend. It could even be like reach out to someone that you admire, find a mentor, find someone that you can grab coffee with, and just, I think that with all the scary factors around taking a chance on yourself, if you are surrounding yourself with people that are going to cheerlead for you, it really makes such a difference. And I was so shocked, like when we started our company and like would post about it, it was really crazy the people that would reach out in multiple ways. One, we would hear from people like that I went to high school with and hadn't talked to in 10 years, just to be like, hey, just wanted to let you know I love what you're doing. I think it's so cool. And on the flip side, people that I was close with that didn't reach out or offer support, that were surprises. And I feel like we talk about this all the time, especially women supporting other women. And it's just, it really is like you can choose who you surround yourself with. And there are so many amazing people out there. Just find those people and hug them.
Yeah. And
hug them.
Like on the flip side of that, paying attention, it's like if someone isn't able to like cheerlead properly, or you kind of notice like, oh, that feels off, and it's like, what might they feel is like missing? How can I, give them extra love? And I think, everything for us has just been such a learning experience. It's so crazy to like, as more time goes by, to kind of see where we're at.
That's so good. You guys give such good stuff. I love it. Thank you so much.
We've never done a video though either, so it was kind of nerve-wracking because we've never really done a video one. We've done like lots of like blog interviews or stuff like that, but never anything like this.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun.
It's fun.
It feels really natural.
Cool. Well, I'm glad it feels natural, and that's like really the purpose of this. Is we have so many different types of interviews, but I think it's so important for whether it's women or men, but just to, no matter how old you are too, is like, it's always a good time if you want to pursue what you're passionate about and want to create something that you just know is in you to create. And so I just think it's awesome that you two can explain how it feels, and then just to do that and just to go out and like make it happen is just so awesome. So congratulations on all of your success too, and just like totally following your heart. It's awesome.
Thank you. It's so fun to see you face to face. I like this.
I know. Well, thank you guys so much. So I will, we'll make sure that everybody who watches this right now is able to find you guys if they need to. And you said Eat, Pray, Photo. Is that your sort of like, that's your own personal Instagram and company?
So we have our personal Instagrams, and then our handle is just Vibe Tribe Creative.
Perfect.
And I think our personal handles are also like listed in ours, but like that's like the juice. So like all our good stuff that we're doing is right there on our business account. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you for representing authenticity and just being like two awesome girls. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Yay. And now this video will be stored forever for you guys whenever you want to watch it.
That was my question. How do we watch it?
Oh, I'll tell you. I will for sure tell you. Okay. Yes. Thank you.